In the summer of 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter stood at the entrance of a sealed tomb in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. He'd spent 5 years and his last shilling searching for it. His financial backer had almost pulled the plug. One more season, that was all they had left. When they finally broke through, Carter held up a candle and peered into the darkness. His sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, leaned in behind him. "Can you see anything?" he asked. Carter paused. Then he said the words that would make him famous forever. "Yes, wonderful things." What they found inside would rewrite history. Over 5,000 objects. Gold, chariots, thrones, statues, and buried with the young king himself, 2 daggers, one made of gold, one made of iron. The gold dagger was beautiful, expected, a treasure fit for a pharaoh. But the iron one, that dagger had no right to exist. This is the story of a blade that fell from space. A weapon that crossed thousands of miles, survived an empire's collapse, and ended up wrapped in the linen of a teenage king's mummy. It is one of the most astonishing objects ever found. And for 90 years after its discovery, nobody understood what it truly was. But to understand the dagger, you first need to understand the boy who carried it. Tutankhamun was born around 1341 BC, the son of the most controversial pharaoh in Egyptian history. His father Akhenaten had torn Egypt apart. He abolished the old gods, declared that only one deity existed, the sun disk, the Aten, and moved the capital to a brand new city in the desert. He erased centuries of tradition. Priests lost their power. The people were confused and afraid. When Akhenaten died, his son inherited a kingdom in chaos. The boy was 9 years old. Tutankhamun, which means living image of Amun, was crowned pharaoh. His advisors likely ruled in practice. But under his reign, Egypt began to heal. The old gods were restored. The temples reopened. The capital moved back to Thebes. He ruled for 9 years. Then, at around 19 years old, he died. The cause is still debated. Malaria, a broken leg gone septic, a genetic disorder from generations of royal inbreeding. No one knows for certain. What we do know is this: someone wanted his name erased from history. His successors, military commanders and rival priests, systematically chiseled his name off monuments. They removed him from the official list of pharaohs. They destroyed his statues. In the ancient world, to erase someone's name was to kill them twice. Tutankhamun was meant to be forgotten forever. He almost was, until a man named Carter came looking. Howard Carter had been excavating in Egypt for 20 years when he began his search for Tutankhamun's tomb. Most scholars thought the tomb had already been found and looted in antiquity. Carter disagreed. He believed it was still there, buried under centuries of sand and rubble from other excavations. He had a system, a methodical grid search of the valley floor. Year after year, he dug and found nothing of consequence. Then, on the 4th of November, 1922, one of his workmen uncovered a stone step beneath the sand. Then another. Then a sealed doorway stamped with the Royal Necropolis seal. Carter cabled his patron in England. "At last have made wonderful discovery in valley, a magnificent tomb with seals intact." It took 3 weeks for Lord Carnarvon to arrive from London. On the 26th of November, they opened the antechamber, and Carter held up that candle and saw the gold glinting back at him in the darkness. The tomb had been entered twice by robbers in antiquity, but both times Egyptian guards had caught them and resealed the entrance. What Carter found was essentially intact, packed floor to ceiling with everything Tutankhamun would need in the afterlife. It took 10 years to catalog it all. Among the treasures found directly on the mummy, 2 daggers, one at his right hip, one at his left, and one of them was impossible. In 1323 BC, the world ran on bronze. Bronze was the material of civilization. Weapons, tools, chariots, empire, every army in the ancient world carried bronze. The Egyptian military was built on bronze. Every skilled craftsman in the Mediterranean worked in bronze. Iron was known, but it was considered almost mystical. Rare, difficult. The smelting temperatures required to work iron properly were beyond what Bronze Age furnaces could reliably achieve. The iron objects that existed were almost always ceremonial, prestige items, curiosities from the sky. Because the only iron that was workable, that was available to Bronze Age smiths, came from meteorites. Meteoritic iron falls from space already alloyed with nickel. It doesn't need the high-temperature smelting that terrestrial iron ore requires. You can cold hammer it, shape it, sharpen it, and the result is a blade unlike anything forged from bronze, harder, sharper, and carrying the weight of the cosmos. When Carter's team first examined the iron dagger in 1925, they noted its remarkable preservation. 3,000 years old and barely corroded, the blade still sharp, the handle, gold and rock crystal, still perfectly intact. But nobody could explain how it was made or where the iron came from. The mystery would last nearly a century. Then, in 2016, a team of Italian and Egyptian researchers got permission to run a non-destructive analysis on the blade using a portable X-ray fluorescence spectrometer, a device that can identify the elemental composition of a material without damaging it. They held the scanner against the blade and waited. The results were definitive. The blade contained iron, yes, but also 8% nickel and trace amounts of cobalt. That ratio, iron with high nickel with cobalt, is the chemical signature of a meteorite. Terrestrial iron ore simply does not occur with that nickel concentration. They then cross-referenced the chemical signature against a catalog of known meteorites. The closest match was a meteorite called Karga, found in a desert in northwest Egypt, about 150 miles from Alexandria. Tutankhamun's dagger was made from a meteorite that fell on Egyptian soil. And the Egyptians almost certainly knew it. They even had a word for it. In ancient Egyptian, the phrase for iron was ba-en-pet. It means iron of the sky, or more literally, iron that came from heaven. This was not metaphor. The Egyptians were precise observers of the sky. They tracked the stars with extraordinary accuracy. They built monuments aligned to celestial events. And they recognized meteorites for what they were, rocks that fell from the heavens, charged with divine power. In the Amarna letters, a collection of diplomatic correspondence from Tutankhamun's era discovered in the ruins of his father's capital, there are references to iron objects sent as gifts between kings. In one letter, the king of the Mitanni, a powerful empire to the north, sends a gift of iron to the Egyptian pharaoh. Iron weapons, iron jewelry, because iron in this era was more valuable than gold. The sky was the realm of the gods. Objects that fell from the sky carried divine authority, and a blade forged from heaven, placed at the hip of a god-king for his journey into the afterlife, was not just a weapon. It was a key, but someone had to forge it first. The most likely origin story for the dagger runs like this. A meteorite fell on Egyptian soil, or possibly in the region controlled by the Mitanni Empire to the north. A skilled craftsman trained in meteorite working used cold hammering techniques to shape the iron into a blade. No furnace, no smelting, just heat, hammer, and an intimate knowledge of how this strange sky metal behaved. The finished blade was mounted in a gold handle inlaid with granules. A rock crystal pommel was fitted at the end, and the dagger was sent as a diplomatic gift, most likely from the Mitanni king to the Egyptian court, sometime around 1340 BC. Tutankhamun may have received it as a child, a gift from a foreign king to a young pharaoh. And when he died, 9 years into his reign, the people who prepared his body for eternity placed it at his side. For 3,300 years it waited in the dark, and it's still there. The dagger is now in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. It sits in a glass case, lit from below, its blade still gleaming after 33 centuries. Most visitors walk past it. They stop for the gold death mask, the iconic, breathtaking face of Tutankhamun in pure gold and lapis lazuli. That mask gets the photographs, the postcards, the posters. But the iron dagger is the rarer object by far. There is no other weapon like it in the ancient world. A blade of meteoric iron, shaped by hands that lived 3,000 years ago, placed by people who believed the sky was sacred, and that a weapon born from it would protect their king on the longest journey of all. Tutankhamun was erased from history. His enemies destroyed his name and his monuments. They thought they'd succeeded. But a teenage pharaoh, forgotten for 3 millennia, was rediscovered, and his dagger turned out to be a piece of the universe itself. If that doesn't make you want to visit Cairo, what does? Drop a comment below and let me know which story you want to see next.